So now the investor community, like yourself perhaps, especially here on YouTube, absolutely loves to follow ARK Invest and Cathie Wood specifically to see what stocks they're buying, selling, discussing, to get some ideas on some investments for ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's probably what the best route is. You go out there, take in as much information as possible, see different perspectives, and then make your investment decisions. But the issue is when investors blindly start following ARK, and when they buy a stock, the investor buys it too. When they sell a stock, they sell it. That's where I see a big problem. Remember, ARK Invest is a fund. Behind the fund is human beings, and those human beings make decisions. They do research, they decide whether a stock is a buy or not a buy, they decide if they're going to sell a stock or not sell a stock, and that's pretty much how it goes. Now, of course, they probably have algorithms to help them, with figuring out when to buy and that kind of stuff, but the actual determination of buying a particular company is dependent on the ARK Invest team like Cathie Wood. Now, ARK prides itself on investing in the highest growth potential companies of our generation through multiple ETFs that they have, as you can see on your screen here. And through these ETFs, they hold a ton of individual companies, and some are big winners, and some, well, not so much. So today, let's talk about a $10 million mistake that ARK just made, what we can learn from it, and why they made this mistake, and how you as an investor can avoid making a similar mistake. But first, if you enjoyed these ARK related videos on the channel, guys, all I ask you, leave a comment down below to let me know. Hit that like button as well, because it helps with the YouTube algorithm, and it also helps me understand what content you want to see. Okay, so there was actually a stock that ARK recently sold, and unfortunately, after selling it, that stock performed incredibly well, which resulted in ARK missing out on $10 million of potential gain. Altrix, AYX, is a stock I'm referring to, and if you didn't watch my recent video, watch it because I go over how and why Altrix stock popped 30% in a single day, and I also have other videos on the channel describing this company, discussing it, looking at its fundamentals, and kind of going through what this business does and what makes it so unique. Now, I know many of you hold Altrix stock already, especially those that subscribe to the channel. And to that, congratulations again on those gains, because a 30% profit on a stock in such a short period of time is hard to come by and is very impressive to say the least. Now, ARK, on the other hand, unfortunately wasn't so lucky. So while they held Altrix AYX stock in their ARKW ETF, they made a few sell orders throughout September and exited their position entirely in the company right before this big run-up we've seen in the last few days. In fact, here are some big sell orders that ARK did during September, and based on the dates they sold, I make an assumption here, giving them the benefit of the doubt on the high end, that they managed to sell for an average price of around $110 per share. Realistically though, guys, it's probably less than $110 per share average that they sold at. Nonetheless, they made 4 big sell orders totaling 291,000 shares of Altrix for a total value of a little over $32 million. And again, this is at the assumed $110 per share. And looking at their fund holdings on their website as of today, which is early October, it looks like they have completely exited this position, Altrix. There's no sign of this stock in their portfolio anymore, so it looks like they're done with this company. If you squint hard enough, you can see all the different holdings that they have on here. But really, guys, if you want to see all of their holdings and an up-to-date version of that, check out their website, select the fund you want to see, and you will be able to download a PDF document with their most recent holdings, and this is typically updated, if I'm correct, on a daily basis, if not weekly. Okay, so they sold Altrix, so what? Well, if you've been following the stock over the last few days, you know that the stock hit prices close to $150 per share, and I believe it hit like, 147 or so after hours when the news was released, so that was a pretty significant move in this stock. Had ARK held their shares in Altrix, their shares would have been worth, at the $147 price, around $42.7 million. This means had they held Altrix for just a few more weeks and, not sold in September like they did, they would have realized well over $10 million in gains at today's prices. $10 million in gains, guys, that's pretty significant, especially considering the size of position that they held in Alteryx that they sold in September. So this was a pretty big boo-boo by ARK Invest. Now, what can you as an investor learn from this? Well, the first most obvious thing is that nobody, not me, not you, not ARK, not anyone is perfect. Even successful investors, the most successful investor of all time, like Warren Buffett, make mistakes with their investments. If you recall, he recently bought airlines and then ended up selling them for a big loss, and he chalked that up as a mistake. Mistakes happen with investing, and that's the reality of the situation. But the main thing I want to get across to you guys is that you should not be following anybody when it comes to your investments. No one, absolutely no one. Not me, not anyone. In my eyes, investing is something that each person needs to embrace, individually. They need to do their own research, need to understand the business for themselves, and they need to be able to really back up where they're putting their money. So if, for example, you put your money into Apple stock, you really have to have high conviction in Apple, because you don't want to just follow some fund manager like Cathie Wood, for example. They buy Apple, you buy Apple, they sell Apple, you sell Apple, then Apple stock goes up 100% in the next few months, and you're like, oh man, like, why did I follow them? Why did I sell? All this kind of stuff. And you're just following the herd in that regard. You're better off just buying the ARK ETF and just leaving it at that. If you're picking individual stocks, you have to do your own research, because that's what differentiates you from the general public. And it's pretty obvious that each person, each investor is going to have different perspectives. ARK, for example, in September felt, Alteryx isn't a good investment. Alteryx doesn't really have a bright future, or not bright enough for them at least, and they decided to sell and close that position. Nothing wrong with that. Their thesis, was a certain thing. They believed it, they followed through, and they're out. That's fine. I, on the other hand, I saw Alteryx, I saw it as an undervalued company. I discussed it at length on the channel. I even covered it in the 3 Stocks for October video, which was published about a week ago. And now the stock is up 30%. Could it have gone the other way? Sure it could. Anything's possible in the stock market. But with my research and my understanding on the business, the industry, all that kind of stuff, it made sense to me that this was an undervalued company and it had good potential upside. And how did I find this company? Research. I read about the company, looked at their financials, looked at their market, looked at how they're growing, look at what they're doing, see if that's something that's sustainable moving forward. Will they be a bigger company in 5 years, 10 years? Do they have potential to be a dominant giant? Answers to most of those questions were yes. Answers to most of those questions were positive. And that's why I felt that this was a great business to buy at those prices. This is why I always say, guys, do your own due diligence. That means do your own research. Understand these companies for what they do. Don't just buy the ticker symbol blindly because someone down the street bought it as well and they're telling you it's the best stock ever. Now, that's not to say that every decision that ARK's made has been like this. In fact, they've made some incredible decisions, most notably, of course, Tesla and Square, and they've done incredibly well on that. So I'm sure they're not crying over this $10 million missed out gain here on Alteryx, because that's peanuts as to what they're making with Tesla and Square. But I mean, there's always a lesson to be learned from situations like this. At the end of the day, what makes an investor successful is their high conviction in a company backed by their research. If that's something you're able to do and dedicate time to, you will most likely be a successful investor. There's no secret recipe to this. It's just go in there, understand the business, understand what you're putting your money into, see the potential, and just wait. Anyways, guys, hope this video was useful. Let me know again in the comment section down below if you want me to continue making videos on ARK. I think you guys do based on the views, but just let me know either way in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, guys, and don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.